Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 91 of Muscle Asylum Radio. Yes, it is 91. I still haven't uploaded episode 90 on our YouTube. No, I've done it on YouTube, but I haven't done it on SoundCloud because I forgot, and then I just couldn't give a fuck because I left it too late.
So do you remember all that content that you're pumping out through the Christmas period, and you're getting up us for not being available and all this shit? You blew your load early. You blew your load. You were done in January, and we got nothing for the rest of the year.
I was on holiday.
He's made his money at his fucking Arnold qualifying show. He's riding off into the sunset. First class to Thailand.
Oh, shit. How are you?
Very good. Look, we got the regulars, Jimmy, Gally. Chris has been messaging us, sending us photos all night, but we don't know where he is. Melbourne has him now. He's probably at golfing.
At the last minute, he's just gone missing.
Yeah. All right, look, this is our post-Arnold qualifier, not post-Arnold qualifiers, our post-Arnold Classic Australia show, our wrap-up show, but we've got a lot to touch on. We've got to talk about Columbus, we've got to talk about the New Zealand Pro Show, we've got to talk about the Pro Show in Australia, and then obviously we've got to talk about the amateur show here in Australia and our new pro, Jake Nicolopoulos. But, Jimmy, how did it feel being in Sydney when you're seeing all the action over in Melbourne on social media? I'm eating pineapple too, by the way, while you eat.
If you did not notice, you did not hear from me until like 9 p.m. yesterday. So I wasn't near my phone. Fuck you all. So I was Saturday I was okay, but by Sunday I was very jealous.
Hey,
I will say.
Was the worst part of your weekend when me and Gally were hanging out with Rowley and William Bonac backstage, just on the couch chilling?
I knew when I got that tag come up on my thing on Instagram. I said, "This is taking the piss. It's going to be rubbing something in my face because there's no way you tag me while you're in Melbourne with all the boys just because so I feel included." So yeah, I saw it and I was again like I was extremely jealous, you motherfucker.
I bet you were.
So. But, yeah, no, look, I'm glad you guys all seem to have a good time. I haven't spoken to you yet, so I don't know what happened or the gossip that goes on behind the scenes. But from a face value, it looked like it was a pretty good weekend.
I think it was a successful weekend for all involved. Definitely, yeah. The interviews we got with Gally backstage and around the expo are going to be freaking awesome, so stay tuned for those. I just tried calling Chris, but he is not answering the phone. I'll try one more time. But yeah, no, the show was good. The expo was good. It was just a good weekend. No drama, no bullshit. It was just good. What do you reckon, Gally?
Oh, I had a great time, mate. It was obviously, it would have been fantastic if you were there, Jimmy, but it was good to catch up with the boys again. Like you said, Gretch, we did some really, these interviews are the best ones we've done so far. Like all the pros were pretty pumped to have a chat. Most of them were starting to get to know quite well now, especially Sean Roden. How cool was that hanging backstage with Sean? He just chilled with us for about half an hour, just talking crap, which is cool.
Yeah, he's one of the boys. Yeah. Like he, 100%. Yeah, he knows us on a first name basis. He's there. Yeah. Chris Thomas, put your video on, mate.
Okay, hang on.
We got Mr. Alpha Ethos. Here he is. Are you back home, mate?
Please. Took 4 hours to get home.
Oh wow!
What happened with that freeway? I saw that post.
It's an accident on the Western Freeway, mate. I got out of the tunnel at Toowong at 3:30, and I ended up after 2 hours. I gave up and just sat at Nando's for 2 hours, and I got another Uber. Then just got home, so it's been 4 hours in transit from the airport.
Yeah, right. Hey,
they were just talked your day off.
Chris, we just started the show anyway, so we just talked about the weekend and how good it was. What did you think of the weekend?
Mate, all round it was good. You know, on a personal level, I was wrapped with the athletes and stuff. I think the results all round were good. You know, I don't think there were too many surprises. I didn't think. I think a lot of the divisions went the way that I thought they would when I was seeing them. You know, as I was watching them unfold, I felt that the winners were the ones that I sort of picked. Which doesn't mean I'm right, but it's interesting when you get it right. I think as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about the weekend, but we will quickly touch on the New Zealand Pro Show a couple of weeks ago because we haven't spoken about that yet because we haven't recorded in a while. But we will mention the fact that Aaron Pilates won his 212 division, his first pro show. There was only 4 in his category, but it's still walking away with a pro win. So if he picked that show strategically, then he's done real well to do so. So good on him. And he had no idea how many pros were going to turn up, so it's not his fault. But he...
No, legit, how many people were in the show?
4 or 5, I think there was.
Yeah, I think it was 5, man. Something like that.
Yeah, but in saying that, he beat Justin Wessels, who has never been beaten by an Aussie competitor ever. So he accomplished a lot, which is kudos to him. So congratulations to Aaron. He'll be going to the Olympia. He's living his dream. I don't know if it's earlier than expected, but good on him. Good on Justin Wessels also. It was a close battle between them two, and he brought the conditioning. But if you want to talk about conditioning and Justin Wessels, how about his showing this weekend at the pro show? You were there, Chris. You saw that. He had a goal of being the most conditioned athlete on stage in that pro show, and he destroyed that goal. What do you think?
Yeah, mate, I ran into him yesterday just walking around, and I just sat there and just looked at him and just said to him, mate, congratulations. I said, you're friggin' amazing. And if you guys would have seen it too, when that pro show was on, when all the pros came out for the pose down and they cruised up into the crowd there was one patch there where he was doing a back bicep and the camera panned down and hit him right in the middle of the back when he was in the auditorium. And as I said to him yesterday, I said, mate, in the nicest possible way, I said, there was just shit everywhere. And he's looked at me and goes, well, that's what I set out to do. I said, well, you didn't. So
yeah, no,
Mark, you put a thing up on the Asylum Facebook page. It must have been during the pro show. I had a few questions about it today. You said that Justin just beat Rowley in a most muscular. What do you mean by that?
Well,
that's what the question was. What does Mark mean by that? How does he just beat him in a most muscular?
Because he was standing next to Rowley. Because Rowley came off. So this is what happened in the pro show. So Rowley looked probably just as bad as he did in Columbus, if not worse, in the prejudging, in my opinion. Josh walked out looking like he was in second place, and then just started to flatten out. And then he kind of faded away, and then he got pushed to 4th place. But Rowley didn't look overly impressive in the prejudging, and Justin was sharp. And then when Justin was right next to Rowley and hit him most muscular, his condition and everything just like exploded on stage, and everyone's eyes was drawn straight to Justin, not to Rowley, to Justin. You know what I mean? And in that most muscular shot, to stand next to Rowley and take him on and hold your own is a massive accomplishment in my opinion. And he literally, like, if I was scoring that pose, I would have given it to Justin all day long. He just looked unreal. But he didn't place that well at the end of the day, but he went there with a goal and he accomplished that goal. He's a realist. He knew where he was going to place against those types of guys. And yeah, no, look, he did great. And like, he's always been a great ambassador of the sport, and he's got his head held high. And I don't know what his goals are now. We had a bit of a chat to him backstage, Gally, and he was just happy to be there experiencing the moment, I guess, wasn't he?
Yeah. No, he you could see it in his eyes. He was pretty happy because I think he knew what he had accomplished was pretty awesome, and that was, in my eyes, I think everyone there, the best conditioning in that entire lineup. And he got a lot of respect from the pros, especially the season pros. And yeah, I agree. That most muscular, we sat together, Gretch, and when he hit it next to Rowley, we were both like, he just popped and splinters everywhere. He was just so impressive. So we all know what Justin went through for this prep. So yeah, it's awesome to see.
Yeah. Chris, I know you're happy with your athletes. I'm very happy with mine. So I'm going to give us both a bit of a plug here. Let's have a chat about yours first, and then I'm going to have a quick chat about mine, and then we're going to talk about the pros. So we're going to talk about Rach White, obviously walking away with a pro card in the physique division. And look, I don't know what anyone else's opinion is, but I couldn't see much of the show when Rach was on because I was backstage doing some stuff. But from what I've seen with pictures and photos online, it was pretty much night and day.
Mm. It's hard for me, man, because like there's a lot invested. She's someone I've worked with for a long time, and she's also a very good friend of mine as well. Look, I knew when I was thinking sensibly that she'd won it well, but she come up against a good friend of mine as well, Jody Howard, who is an ex-NABA World, who was absolutely skinless. And I suppose when you see, it's a very different contrast to physique. You know what I mean? I think that no one can really match Rach with the bellies and the size and the flow and all these other things. But when you see a really good lineup like that, you're still in the back of your mind have just got that. You know, these girls are good, and Erin Pruitt from Perth was really good too. And I sort of halfway through, I just looked at Scotty and I said, "Come on, man, give me something." And he goes, "Oh, Rach, you know, definitely." So I suppose when it settled down afterwards, and I really looked at it objectively with the emotion removed from it, you know, there was no one was going to beat her, but it was good for her. This is a testament to Rach White as well. Okay, she messaged me from backstage and she goes, "There are so many good girls out here." She goes, "This is what I wanted. This is the only thing I wanted." You know, so she was just excited by the fact that she was up against really good people. So, you know, that's the person that we're talking about. Couldn't be happier. And I've made no secret of it, man. This girl can easily stand on the Olympia stage and can easily do damage on that stage. In my opinion, I think she's that good, and I think potentially she could be one of the greatest Australian athletes ever if that's what she really wants out of it.
I agree. And one thing I noticed about Rach, especially even the next day at the expo, she just seemed so full of energy and healthy. So she obviously doesn't really have to smash herself too hard to get in the condition that she gets to on stage.
I think the other thing, Mark, and like she never makes excuses, and there's never any excuses ever. She's had a back injury now, man, for 12 weeks. And she hasn't been able to train legs correctly at all. And that's been the hardest part of the prep, is keeping her upbeat in regards to that. You know, she's basically leg pressed a plate aside for 12 weeks because she can't do anything else. She's never been able to flex the glutes properly. She only really was able to pose probably about 2 weeks out. So this is a woman who's, you know, going from leg pressing 7 plates, 8 plates aside to doing 1. And she trains hard. You know what I mean? But there was no excuse, and there's no, but I couldn't train my legs. She just did what she had to do, and we protected her as much as possible and got the job done, which is what every real prep is, because every prep never goes smoothly, or, you know, everything is perfect, you know?
Yeah.
So
Chris, I should say as well, obviously Chris and Rach are a long-time ATP athletes as well, but like you said, Gret, she, after a comp, she spent literally 2 days at our booth for a long, long time. She did a lot of photos. She did a lot of talking. She spent good quality time. I kept looking at her with every person that came up to her. She was bubbly as. She was so happy. There's not many people that compete that will do that.
That just proves how healthy she was. And
exactly.
If she's got that much energy, then her prep was
definitely on point. She didn't get the chance to do any of that. She just stayed there for every single person.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Chris, what impact do you think that her back injury had on her physique? Like, how much better do you reckon she could have been?
It's hard to say whether she could have been much better. She probably could have been marginally. She was pretty good. I think, honestly, if she could have trained her legs better, she would have come in on higher calories than what she did. And don't get me wrong, they weren't low by all means. I mean, this is an athlete of all proportions. This woman, I mean, she's pretty much spent 10 weeks of a prep above 3,000 calories. You know, it was only sort of about 8 weeks out that it sort of started to drift below that. You know, and I think it's probably scary. She probably could have depleted on about 2,000, I think, in my opinion, if she's training legs correctly. So I think that probably makes you realise what we're really playing with here as a human, and how effective, you know, her system is operating realistically, you know. So I think that's where the impact would have been there. I think she would have come in on more food.
Yeah. I want to make mention to other people that won their pro cards on the weekend. Rose Black in the figure. My opinion, was a clear winner in that overalls division. She looked unreal. Her back, the definition in the back and the shape and everything like that was just, It was a good battle, but it was just, as soon as she turned around and saw her back, it was just crazy detail.
She's another one that was happy as, bubbly as.
Yeah. She's a top chick. She's a top chick.
Yeah.
Really,
she was always like, even backstage at New South Wales, she was happy as Larry, mate.
Yeah.
And the girls went on last, you know, so... she's well deserved. I think
she was fighting for that pro card for a long time, and the girl that comes second, Sonia, she looked unreal, and she's definitely someone who is a potential pro in the future. So she's going to be really hard to beat if the next time she competes, whether it's in October or the Arnold's next year, who knows? But we also had a little Asian girl in the bikini. I'm not sure of her name. But she looked unreal. What was her name?
I think it's Nicole Tan. Or
Okay,
Tran.
yeah. I should have done my
from
research.
Perth.
Oh, she's from Perth.
Perth.
Well,
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Renee
Perth
Garner
fucks
posts
out.
us. So, yeah.
I was with my missus backstage, and I was looking around, and I couldn't really pick who I thought would walk away with a pro card, who was potentially a pro card winner. And then I saw her pumping up in the corner, and I was just like, no one's beating that. Yeah, she looked wicked. Yeah, she just looked like a pro. She's short as hell, like she's about 4 foot tall, like Jimmy, but she was she's a wicked little physique. And I didn't see the classic physique. I don't know who walked away with the pro card. I was on a plane by that time. That was on. Gally, did you get a chance to watch that?
No, I only come out to watch Nick's division, so I'm not sure if the guy that won that division won the pro. I think he might have won the pro card as well.
I think he did. Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because there was a little bit of controversy with the decision with Nick, and I'm not afraid to bring it up either, because a lot of people were thinking that Nick should have walked away with this pro card. Well, maybe not with the pro card, but with the win, which would have potentially got him this pro card. But he did place third. We had a little bit of a discussion yesterday on Facebook chat, and there was a rumor going around that judges said that he might have been too hard, which I don't think is true. I think it was a misinterpretation.
That was the feedback.
I think that was a misinterpretation. I think it was more that they were saying that he looked more like a bodybuilder than a classic physique guy, which in a way I kind of agree with. But then when you're comparing him to Mr. Classic Physique, Mr. Olympia, what's his name? Breon. Very similar looks. So, it was a little bit. The judging there could have went either way, and it was a little bit weird. What are your thoughts? I'll go with Chris first, because I know what Gally's going to say, so we'll finish off with him.
Look, I was a little bit surprised with it. I did see the category. His condition, you can't fault it. He was exceptional. I mean, he was just skinless. Having said that as well, the guy that won it, you can't take much of him too. He was real good, you know. I just like what you said. It'd be nice just to really know exactly, because I was having a talk with Chris Skogberg about this, about really what the guidelines were and where it sort of sat as far as the criteria for it went. Because Nick, I mean, if you judge that on just straight up and down condition size for that weight, Nick wins that all day long, you know. So there must be some other element to it. But in saying that too, I would love to see Nick do the under 90s as well, man. Straight up.
Yeah, he would have done really well in the under 90s.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Mick?
Well, my understanding of the classic, and this is every other federation, including bikini and bodybuilding, is trained to look like the current pro Olympia champion, which is Breon Ansley. So you've got Breon. Now, remember, I've been at the last couple of Olympias, especially the last one. I was up pretty close. So I saw Breon, I saw Chris Bumstead, and I saw George Peterson. They were all conditioned, like absolutely conditioned like Nick, head to toe. They didn't lack body parts, and they're big guys. Like, trust me, Chris Bumstead's a big guy. So, I mean, I'm trying to take my feeling, because obviously Nick and I are mates, so I'm trying to push that away and just look at it subjectively. When he walked out, I know I scanned the whole field. My eyes were drawn to Nick, obviously, straight away. His legs were more peeled than anyone else. His posing was second to none. But the thing that got me, that I thought he was a clear winner, was when they turned around. And no offense to the other two guys, because the winner was pretty good, but they had no back, no hamstrings. So for them, I've heard a couple of things saying, okay, Nick was too conditioned, or Nick was thick-waisted. That's okay. Turn around the other way. The guy had no back at all. The guy had no hamstrings. So to me, it was like, I'm trying to see it both ways, trying to understand the judge's way. But if it's judged on the criteria of looking like the current Mr. Olympia, I think Nick had that look. I don't know. It's still going to be one of those things where maybe like physique with the boardies, it took a while for them to knuckle down the exact criteria they want.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've seen Breon up close, and Nick was as close to Breon as you could probably get, I guess. Like condition, muscle, symmetry, posing.
It's a shame, because pretty much every other decision in every other division was spot on, in my opinion. So that's probably the only division where there might have been a little bit of controversy coming out of that one.
Yeah, that said, if you look at our forum, it is split 50-50. So it depends. Then it comes down to personal preference.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, the judges had a hard decision.
I can't really have an opinion. I wasn't there. I didn't see it in person.
The guy, look, from the photos I've seen, structurally the guy's more classic. So straight away, that's his argument for winning. But if you then speak about everything that Mick just said, then that takes away, or you got to then ask yourself, okay, what's more important, the structure of the person, therefore the genetics, or the elements that you put into the prep?
Well, I think the structure is going to be the most important thing, because how are you going to distinguish the difference between a bodybuilder and a classic physique? And if you're going to make that distinction,
structure with no back.
Why can't you distinguish it? Why can't you distinguish it through his posing, or why can't you say, okay, his structure, his God-given structure, we could count that as a body part. So he's not missing that, therefore Nick's missing the structure. All right, but then you go, okay, but he's missing a back, missing hamstrings. That's -2 points. Condition -3 points. You know, so you can make an argument for both ways.
Yeah,
I just like Nick.
It's subjective. Yeah, no, we all love Nick, but yeah, it's a shame. But well, I hope we see him on stage one day again soon.
I'd love to carry on and do
after that. Like, trust me, he's got something coming. So
I'm gonna quickly run through the bodybuilding divisions, because one of my guys won one of them. So big shout out to Benny Roberts, who took gold in the under 80s. Tough class. He was probably one of the most conditioned athletes on stage that day. He was shredded to the bone, thick skin all around. He actually won silver, not last year, the year before. So it's not his first time on an Arnold stage. He won silver in the under 70s, and then walked away with golds in under 80. He was actually 72 kilos in that under 80s class too. So he's one of the smaller guys on stage. So a massive shout out to him. Under 90s was the most stacked lineup. Or I wouldn't say that, because every lineup was stacked. But Mahale and James Newcomb, they had a great battle on stage. Great battle. Mahale held his own, definitely, but James Newcomb is pro all over. All over. Yeah. He's ready to be on a pro stage.
The unfortunate thing too, in that category, is I watched that obviously intently. They took a fair bit of time judging it on the second day, obviously in the finals, and it became really apparent pretty quickly that they were judging it because James had won it. But it became apparent in my eyes that they were judging it for second and third, because Mahale definitely faded overnight and either ate too many carbs or smoothed out or whatever it was, and he ended up really losing a placing overnight and come third in the end.
Yeah, he came second. I don't even know who the guy who came second was.
I'm not sure, but it's a shame. It's a shame for Mahale, and I hope he learns from this, because no disrespect to the guy that came third, the door got left open, which I always talk about, and someone snuck through it and pinched the spot off it, because in condition that he normally would be in, the other guy could not get around him. Yeah. In my, so.
Under hundreds, we had James Ormsby, who walked away with the win. I think it was a convincing win for him. He had what was his name? The big Lebanese bloke. Yusuf with the massive quads, the most aggressive poser on stage. He did look the goods, but he did walk away with silver, and I think that was pretty much judged correctly. Yusuf had him on the quads, but Ormsby had him on condition and pretty much every other body part. Then we had the super heavies. Jimmy, are you still there? Because you're frozen like a creep. He's not speaking, so he's out. Here we back.
You need to screenshot that one.
It's screenshotted. Don't worry. That's there. That's not going anywhere. We had in the super heavy. This is probably the biggest super heavyweight lineup we've ever seen in Australia. No, he's back, and now he's
Sorry, I'm going through the speed camera valley.
Oh, so I speed in and out because of speed cameras. Really, it does that to.
No, well, just this area has got bad reception.
Oh, fair enough. The Central Coast is bad reception all over. I'm surprised you got electricity.
I don't know how you can fucking send a guy to the fucking moon, but you can't have fucking reception on the Central Coast.
Super heavies. What was your? Did you get a chance to watch this, Gally? Or were you on the booth?
No. I was just back away from the booth a little bit, so I wasn't up close, but I was close enough.
This was great to watch. Jake was clear winner as soon as he walked out.
Yeah,
but he definitely overcarbed overnight because at the finals he did look a lot smoother than what he did at the prejudging, and it was a good battle. In second place, we did have Chris Cavalos, who I think condition got him over anyone else on the day because Chase Chattersall did come third with much better shape, much more pleasing physique, but condition got Chris over the line and obviously size, but no one was beating Jake on this day. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Exactly that, mate. I look, the only criticism I have is Jake was a little bit too full, in my opinion. I think if he just was a little bit crisper. In saying that, it was still clear. So congratulations. But, you know, if he was just a bit crisper, he would have blown the doors off the whole show. Like, it would have just been, listen, no one's come close to him. You know, I felt that yeah, anyhow, I'm not going to go ahead into the overalls yet. We'll leave that.
I think the good thing about this show is Jake can walk away with his pro card now, and he was clear winner. And I wouldn't say an easy win over James Newcomb in the overalls because I wasn't there to watch it. I was on my way, and I was speaking to you, Chris, and you promised me I was going to be the first you messaged to let me know the result. Yeah. But you, when we spoke on the phone, you actually had James Newcomb beating Jake.
Well, prior to them being put side by side, after watching the under-90s, James was that impressive. Like, literally, like, mate, from the side and from behind, that the bottom end, he's a pro, all ends up, you know. And I just looked at him and went, man, if there's a case of calling 2 pro cards today and giving a 212 out, I wouldn't have been upset with it. I think he's amazing. And I just felt that Jake was really full, obscenely full. Jake was the size of a truck. It was ridiculous for how tall he is, for how big he was. Look at the truck, you know. But when they were side by side, man, and they posed side by side, Jake was just too big. And as soon as they sort of started going pose for pose, I just went, nah, I changed my mind. You know, when they were apart. Yeah, when they were apart, I looked at it and I thought, man, this could be trouble today for Jake. But no, once they started posing, I think Jake, yeah, he was just too strong, man. He was big, very big too.
Yeah. So Jake wins a pro card at the end of the day, and deservedly so. So I think the best thing about Jake winning this is, like I said, he's got room to improve now. Like I don't think we've seen Jake's best, and if he sacrifices a bit of fullness to come in that crisp conditioning that you mentioned, he's going to be a pretty good pro. Like, he is going to be a competitive pro. He has the shape, he has the size. He adds more size onto I think he can add more size to that frame and still look symmetrical and in proportion with the rest of his body. He's going to be a good pro. So
it's a density that he has. That's what's different about him to the others. You know, he's just got this thickness that you can't deny.
Yeah, I hope James Newcomb does October, because no one in this country is beating James Newcomb. That
was my next question. Had anyone spoken to him about what his future plans are?
I have. I spoke today, and he said he hasn't set a plan yet. But I'm trying to get him to do October because I do not see anyone beating him in October. I do not know of a better amateur in this country, and that's my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong. Name a better amateur,
mate. After I saw him on the weekend, there's no arguments on my end.
Yeah, Gally.
Yeah, I was pretty damn impressed with him. He's got the makings of a great 212.
He's the next Flex Lewis.
Yeah.
He's young. He's young. He's healthy.
Mate, he's only 20. Realistically, I had breakfast with Logan this morning. I said, realistically, if he gets his pro card, just say a year, say he's about 24, he's got 10 to 12 years as a top pro if he chooses.
Yeah.
It's not that you don't often see that sort of thing. A lot of guys are turning pro around 30 these days or mid-30s. So he could actually make a really good career out of this if he was smart.
If he gets his pro card this year in October and has 2 years off to grow and to train hard, he is ready for the Olympia stage.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you bringing back the overall trophies at the end of the year?
Yeah. So the overall trophies are there for the state shows.
Yeah, because that was a last minute. Hey, no one knew about any of that.
What?
I'm just putting you on the spot, Mitch. I'm just putting you on the spot.
I told everyone. That wasn't a secret.
No one knew
I heard
till
it was
today.
Gretchen's idea. Gretchen needed to book first class to Thailand, so he chose to not order the overall
So
trophy.
he got the VIP pack for the Olympic
Nah.
at the end of the year.
Instead, we gave everyone else $500. That, that's what, $3,000 out of my pocket, motherfucker. Anyway.
No, you did. I was privy to that conversation where you and Tony gave out extra flights and accommodation vouchers.
Exactly right.
That was very admirable.
There you go.
Admirable. Is that the word?
Admirable. That's what you want to say.
Very nice. It was very nice.
I record that shit because you won't get another compliment from me.
You were trying to give me a compliment before the show, and I asked you to save it, but you haven't mentioned shit yet. I had to make another mention to one of my clients, Chris and Gally. Jimmy, I don't give a fuck. Ness Herrera. So,
are you sure you want to bring this up?
What do you mean? Why wouldn't I bring it up? She is now the highest placed bikini pro to ever compete in a pro show. She placed fourth, highest placed Aussie, and
Chris, do you want to argue that?
Yeah, Amy Wright got fourth in 2014.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, you know what? That wasn't my information.
Chris, you're the second.
All right, I'll be the second. Were you
Can
coaching
I-
Amy Wright?
hey,
Were you coaching Amy Wright at that time? Christopher?
Jimmy.
Yeah, I was.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. Look, we got something to share. You know, who else can say in this country that they coached the bikini girl to fourth place? I'm taking that. Was that
It's a great result because I remember what it felt like when Amy got that spot, and that's huge, man. To get just outside that three, because the top three are amazing.
Well, the top three are Olympian athletes. So,
There you go.
Look, she deserved it more than anyone in the world. She's such a great chick. Best attitude backstage and just in life in general. You know what I mean? This is a hobby for her.
Yeah, Mark, what was her expectation to coming to the show?
She has no. No, it wasn't a pro debut. She competed in Japan about a couple of months ago.
I apologise.
Yeah, she placed all right in that. I think she placed around 7th, but we don't go to these shows with expectations, especially with bikini. How you know what I mean? Like every other girl expects to win, and I think she goes in without any real expectations. But when I saw her 2 weeks ago leading into this show, I didn't really say much to her, but I was thinking in my head, fuck, she looks real good. She looks real good. She's going to do real well. And when she walked out to the side, just about to walk on stage, I was actually sitting next to her fiance, and I said, dude, she's going to place really high this show. And she did. She did extraordinarily well. She had all the confidence in the world. She's just calm, and she doesn't stress out. And I think that's the best part. She did stress out a little bit about a tan, I must admit, but she's just a very calm and collected person. I think that plays dividends, especially when you're a bikini competitor and it comes to holding fluid and everything like that. But yeah, no, look, props to her. She did well. Gally, what were you going to say? We had an interview with her backstage.
I was going to say, Jimmy, we did a great interview with her backstage as she was pumping up, and there were talks of her possibly moving prep coaches, trying someone different because. Yeah,
she'd be stupid to do that. Why would she fucking even? Why would she even think about doing that? This interview. Gally was trying to poach her. Gally was trying to poach her backstage.
She actually asked me.
Yeah. We'll see. I can't remember the interview. I just remember you using a little fucking dick-looking thing as the mic, and I was rubbing it on your lips.
Yeah, no. Well, when you watch the interview, you'll see that's what you grabbed.
Let's talk about the pro show. We will make comparisons to Arnold Columbus because we did miss talking about that. But the pro show, good showing. Me and Gally spent the majority of it backstage, so we didn't really get a chance to watch any of it, to be honest. We were chilling with the boys, talking to Luke Sandow about Marvel movies, and we had a fucking great time.
Selfies with Arnold.
Selfies with Arnold. I fucked up there. I missed out, but I did get my opportunity on Sunday. Yeah, look, it was a good pro show. It was. Did you go to the finals, Chris? I know you were there at the prejudging.
Yeah, no, I did, mate. Yeah, I was thinking about not because I had a bit of work to do and a few clients to see, and I thought, I can't not because I really wanted to see the final result.
Yeah, it was a good show. We had obviously William Bonac walking away with first place, and he was very happy with that. I had the opportunity to interview William the next day. So I got the call up to interview all the pros at some event that Arnold was at. And he was very chilled and happy the next day. So, for obvious reasons. I think he thought he might have won Columbus, that he was good enough to win that show. This solidified his opportunity to compete at the Olympia, so he won't be competing until then. Second place, Cedric. What are your thoughts on Cedric? This guy annoys me, man. He has the physique to win the Olympia. He is good enough. No one beats his shape and size and symmetry. He just doesn't nail his conditioning. And if he nailed his conditioning and come shredded one day, he's Mr. Olympia all day long.
Does he just not get in shape?
What was that, Jimmy?
Does he just not get in shape? Like, does he just not get lean enough? I'll ask you this, Chris. What are your takes on him?
I mean, look, I don't know. I don't know the man. So he look, like what Mark said, like on the shows that he's come in ridiculous, he's won. Like, he's won Columbus before, you know. So he's been amazing. He just seems very relaxed and very chilled. Now, whether or not that's the way he approaches everything, I don't know. I don't know him as a person, so I can't say that. He appears that way. But what I will say is, on the pro show the other night, he probably could have been as low as fourth in the prejudging or in parts of it, and he definitely worked his way from that position into second and probably asked some questions at first, even though I really felt that Bonac had won it from the outset. But Cedric had worked his way up. He deserved it. He deserved the spot. He deserved second.
What are your thoughts, Gally?
Yeah, I remember when Cedric won his pro card and Lee Haney said he's possibly one of the best physiques he's ever seen since Lee, like Lee was winning the Olympia himself. So that's a pretty big rap. Aceto summed it up perfectly because he's obviously prepped him a few times and just said he's got all the genetics in the world. He trains hard, but he's just, like Chris said, he's just, I guess, you wouldn't use the word lazy, but he's just too cruisy. And sometimes you can't be just too cruisy. You've got to have that real aggressive attitude about you sometimes to go hard.
Do you think he has too many yes men hanging around him? Too many people telling him how fucking awesome he looks?
I think he does a lot of stuff. I think he's by himself a lot. He does his own thing, stuff like that. But there's no doubt. Like, we've seen it when he's come in really good, he kills it. And he, for whatever reason, come Olympia time, he's never nailed it in the Olympia in September. Never. It's always the start of the year. So I don't know what the issue is there, but the times he's nailed it, Columbus, and I think when he won the New York Pro, he looked absolutely amazing. There's no doubt his physique up there was the best one there. If you look at it structurally and genetically, it was the best.
So on the video, he looks so big, especially next to William. Like, I know in real life William will look stupid crazy, like some of the close-up pics. But if you're just looking at pure silhouette, he's so much bigger than everybody else.
What did he place in Columbus?
Third.
Third. Okay.
Fifth.
Third or fourth? Third, was it? Yeah.
Sandow got third. He got fourth.
Was it third or fourth?
Yeah, he beat Sandow and Rowley come fifth. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, okay. Sandow came third.
Yes, we just said that, dipshit. You dickhead. That's enough of him, yeah? Rowley come third, yeah? Now, he worked his way back up to that because he was probably fourth or fifth at the prejudging and then worked his way up. And he did look a lot better at the finals than he did the prejudging. I think what worked him up a position, or a couple of spots actually, is the fact that he got to hang out with me and Gally backstage, and that would have dropped his cortisol dramatically. And then he just was chilling and eating pizza, having fun with me and Gal, and then walked out looking that much better. What do you reckon, Chris?
That's our new job.
Fuck, you got to wait till the videos come out, because our interview with Josh, where he just walks through the interview because he was busting for a piss, and while we're talking to Josh, you can hear him pissing in the background, and then comes through and just gives us a west side as he's walking through. He's a fucking dude, man. Can't speak hardly a word of English, but he's a fucking legend of a guy. But yeah, no. What are your thoughts on Big Rowley?
I just don't see him as the type of bloke who'd stress, man. I mean, I saw him at breakfast the next day. I had breakfast with Steve the following morning, and he was sitting a couple of tables up, and he was just laying back, eating his food with his cap on and his tracksuit.
Like
just look, bro, he was just looking.
That's it.
And he's
like Rowley.
I'm going to keep like this the rest of the episode.
He gets up to walk past me, and he just like looks down and goes, "Hey, is it like this?" And he just sticks his hand out, shakes it and just like, and then just keeps walking. I'm just like, how cool is this dude? Like, seriously.
That's what he does. He's a fucking legend. And then him hanging out with Bonac backstage, you could just tell that they were both in their element. They were both gangsters. Rowley's sister, she's a mad chick. Rowley's sister, like I know why he takes her all around the world with him, because she's the nicest, most decent human I've ever met in my entire life. She actually remembered me from the day before. Rowley didn't. But she did.
that was very awkward, Mark.
That was like, do you remember me from yesterday? He's like, no. And she's like, I do. He did meet hundreds of people.
I'm the one apologising.
I didn't expect him to remember me, no. But I remember Gally saying, fuck, I wish you were filming that. That was funny.
Now, the Arnold one was better anyway.
Yeah, we got that on film, yeah. I'm keeping my hat like this for the rest of the episode. Tribute to Rowley. Who come fifth? No, was that third?
Sando got fourth.
Sando.
No, Josh got fourth, sorry.
Josh got fourth, Sando got fifth. Now, Josh, what do you think about Josh and his conditioning? Do you agree with me, Chris, in saying that he kind of started to fade away? As soon as he walked out, it was boom, wow, he's on.
Yep, I think what it was objectively, again, I think that Josh was way, way better than what he was in Columbus. We all know that. I think that probably a lot of people made judgment on how good Josh was in Melbourne in relation to what he was in Columbus. I still don't think Josh was at Josh's best, but he was good enough. You know what I mean?
I think what Josh did was diet so hard for the last 2 weeks to come in condition, lost 10 pounds. When you diet that hard, for 2 weeks straight, it's very hard to fill out. And then when you get that fullness, as he did, as soon as he walked out, it's very hard to maintain. And they worked him hard.
He looked flat on the screen. He looked like he wasn't popping, and I thought it was because he how much did he drop, Rich?
10 pounds.
2 weeks post the USA, 8 kilos.
Well, 10 pounds. I don't know what the time frame of that 10 pounds was. It could have been more than 10 pounds.
This is where I'm trying to put a time frame on it. When in Columbus, when he competed, and he said to us, we caught the plane back from Columbus to LA, and he said he took Jay Cutler's advice, and he mentioned this to you too, Gretch, and he did a massive carb load when he wasn't lean enough to do the carb load, and he spilled over. We're talking a huge, huge load. So that was on the Saturday. He probably relaxed on the Monday. So when I saw him was the Tuesday when he flew to LA. I stayed in LA. So he's had to fly from LA back to Melbourne. You also lose a day. So he wouldn't have got back to Australia till the Thursday. So then he's had to go from Thursday to the following Friday. So just over a week, which I agree with you, Gretch. I reckon he's put the foot down. George Farrer was helping him out that last week.
Yeah.
So he's obviously put the foot down, and he was definitely a lot better. Like it was a night and day difference from Columbus, but he just looked that little bit flatter in the upper body. His legs looked incredible, but it wasn't the best we've seen. It was a damn awesome Josh, but just not that spot on Josh of a couple of years ago.
I can't remember when we were interviewing him backstage. I can't remember if we were filming the time he was talking about when George Farrer approached him backstage. I think it was on film. So it will be on the interview that we had with him. But he basically said George Farrer approached him and said that you are the biggest person on stage. Work with me, and I will make sure that you win moving forward. So I think any coach would say that to Josh and to bring him on as a client. But
and he also said something else too, which remember he said he was prepping Brandon backstage.
He was prepping Brandon, and he said it in front of Brandon.
Yes, and the camera crew taking all the accolades for it, but it's actually been George Farrer.
Yeah,
hell.
What?
Yeah.
What about Jimmy?
What?
Bullshit! Really?
I don't remember him saying that. I'm not going to agree with Gally. I don't remember him saying that.
No, he did say that.
Maybe I was.
Or unless he said that to us off camera, and I've just blurted that out.
I don't know. Maybe it was the time Rowley was taking a piss backstage, and I'm just
Oh,
fucking
shit.
distracted
Oh, well.
by
Yeah.
Rowley behind us. But we had Sandow in 5th. Now, Luke Sandow looked big and monstrous, as he always does. But the best thing about Luke Sandow is how much of a dude he is, and he will just stand there and talk to you all day long about shit. If you wait till you see the interviews, Jimmy, but the reason why I completely just disregarded Arnold walking past while Galley's calling me over to take a selfie with him, and I just didn't even notice he was there. Because me and Sandow are there talking about Marvel movies, and I'm asking him, have you seen Captain Marvel yet? He's like, no, man, have you seen it yet? No. Talking about what we think's going to happen in the new Avengers movie, and Arnold's walking past, and we're like, no, this is more important. We're going to talk about this shit. But he's just a fucking legend of a bloke. But he had a laugh backstage and that bit. The Juggernaut is what he calls himself. What do you think of him, Alpha Ethos Thomas? He looked the goods once again. He's come from nowhere in a year. Like, he's made some dramatic improvements.
Mate, absolutely massive. And I actually saw him in the foyer of the Novotel when I was going out to check on Steve. He was coming down the lift, and I don't know, man. I just saw this arm that looked like it was half a metre wide going past me, and I went, holy shit, you know. Look, once again, without putting the conditioning cap on again, but I'm going to have to, you know, it would be nice if he was tighter, you know what I mean? I think that, you know, you're that big, you're losing impact if you're a little bit off. And, you know, he could have done being a bit sharper, but, you know, still, man, I mean, that's a huge, huge man.
Yep, definitely.
You know, I think it is that. Like, he nailed his condition in Columbus. Like, absolutely nailed it. And I think for some that it's just too hard for them to redo it again. Probably 2 weeks later with such a big flight. But he's a. You know what I liked about when we had him on our show a couple of weeks ago? He took full credit for, obviously he preps for the Aceto, and he took full credit of obviously he bashed Aceto's cred after a comp last year. And then obviously retracted it a bit on our show, which was great to see. So he's that sort of guy too. If he's made a mistake, he'll own up to it. He's obviously back with Chris prepping as well, and hopefully, well, it looks like all things are moving forward. He's going well. That said, I don't know. Did you guys hear about the indictment with Blackstone yesterday?
We probably shouldn't talk about that.
Why not?
I don't know, because
it's all over the news in the States.
I'm waiting for Mark's face.
We don't know enough about it. Really. How about we just get Aaron on and we'll talk to Aaron about it?
Oh, I highly doubt he'll be saying.
I don't think he'll be able to talk about it.
So we probably shouldn't either.
It is on the Times News, so you could probably.
Mark, just to change the subject, how much food did you eat in Melbourne, bro? Fuck.
I am 3 kilos heavier. 3 kilos.
You looked 5.
I'm not small, bro. I'm the big. When I was walking around, I was probably the biggest guy I'm probably the biggest bodybuilder in Australia right now.
I think you got the biggest head of any bodybuilder in Australia right now.
Who's fucking talking? Your hat, you can see the rolls hanging out from the gap in your hat. Like your forehead fat is hanging over. Look at your forehead fat.
Hey, Chris.
Look at that. Look at that.
How are you, Chris?
I'm good, mate. Hey, listen, how about we talk about 6th place?
Yeah.
Nah. Let's move on to 7th because I want to talk about.
I think this show's about bodybuilding. So.
No, I want to talk about Sam Pearce. So 7th place. No, right. Let's talk about 6th place. Steve Orton. Steve. Now, he looked the goods, and Chris, he looked a lot better in the finals than he did the prejudging. What'd you do different?
Just held him, bro, to be honest with you. Gave him a little bit more carbs and just hydrated him a little bit, man. I felt he was a little bit dehydrated. He didn't drink enough water. He kind of, I'm not sure whether he was just in relaxed Kiwi cloud land or whatever it was, but when I sort of went back over him with him in regards to his water, he wasn't putting in the water that I'd sort of said to him. So I sort of said, listen, get some water in now, keep doing this. So he was had a bit more water in him and a little bit more carbs. So that's what it was. Yeah.
He looked the goods, coming away with 6th place in that type of lineup. He, I don't know if you took my criticism at all. You asked me, what do I think? Because I was a little bit closer to the stage at prejudging, but I said his tan on his midsection was a little bit too dark, and I kind of watched him. Did you notice that too, Jimmy? Looking at the prejudging,
that looked real bad in the video. I just figured it was just shit lighting. But then I looked at everyone else, and it just looked darker.
Yeah.
and it washed out his stomach, and like he's structurally a little bit different than everyone else because he's just so big through his chest and shoulders from the front. It takes away a little bit from his midsection, and you just couldn't see it. It was just washed. But then I looked back and watched the video from the night show, and it was night and day difference. I think he fixed it. Did he?
I don't know, mate. But I didn't really, because where I was, I couldn't see properly. But when Mark said it, and I saw some playback on some photos, and then I could see exactly what you're talking about. I went, oh yeah, shit, yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But that photo that you posted, sorry, Chris, that you posted in our group chat.
Yeah.
That is next. That most muscular is next level freaky.
Can I just say one thing about that photo? Because I've got to give him credit. Jonathan C. Now, Jonathan C. is the guy I flew down from Sydney to film me and Gally doing the interviews, and he was in heaven. He literally almost started crying when he met Roden backstage. You had to sit him down because he was hyperventilating. He literally did not know what to do with himself. And when we walked into prejudging, and he said, "Oh, we're going to go to the interviews backstage," and I said, "No, look, let's just sit down and I'll go take some photos." Am I allowed to? I'm like, "Yeah, you're allowed to." Because we were sitting pretty close up. He took that photo of Orton, and he has got some wicked pics of Steve Orton. So I just wanted to give him a shout out because he was an absolute legend on the weekend. He was an absolute workhorse. He's editing videos now. And at the same time, he's been posting pics all day, and he has taken some wicked shots.
He's all over it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make mention of that. Yeah, because that was a great picture of Orton.
Yeah, as the boys say, that's a pool room pic. That one.
Yeah.
If I've ever seen.
While we're on Steve, do you what based on last year, Chris, numbers wise, how much was he improved
from last year?
Same.
Yes.
Same.
Absolutely, just markedly different. He was bigger. He was more conditioned. Well, he was conditioned the same, in my opinion. That's what we aimed for. Because last year's conditioning was ridiculous, but he was fuller. He had a lot more carbs this year as well. It was a different, final stage that we did. But mate, just the combination of the size and the condition, he was better than last year, which is what we set out to achieve.
Yeah, that's a good goal because there's a lot of people saying that he couldn't get any much better than last year because they were saying that there wasn't much muscle that you could add to his frame. You couldn't get any leaner. So for him to actually come in looking better is a massive accomplishment.
Yeah, look, I think that Steve can be bigger, and I'm not trying to say that to make him ugly and just make him some big massive ball of meat. But he's still got room. His back can come up. The thickness in his back can come up. He's got room there. You're dealing with a near on 120 kilo person that's 176 centimeters tall. That's a big person. So, I don't think necessarily it's about the weight now for Steve. I think that Steve could probably come in similar sort of weight for the next 5 years, but just have a improved condition and composition, at a similar sort of weight. And I think that's what you'd be looking at, I reckon.
I think you've got to approach it the same way Neil Hill approaches his prep with William Bonac. We spoke to Neil Hill, and how did he describe it, Gal? It wasn't more so putting on size. What did he say?
He kept saying it was all about refinement. I guess in William's case, William's got as much muscle as he's probably going to get. I actually thought William's stomach was just starting to come out a bit at the sides. So it's probably best that he do cap it now, trying to put more size on. It was just about refining, So, and he stressed that a few times in that interview.
That was a real good interview too with Neil Hill after. I can't wait till that's up on our channel. Jimmy's popped out. He just sent us a message. I'm pretty sure he's walking upstairs. Oh, no, he's back. All right. We're going to wrap up anyway. We've got 7 minutes, Jimmy. You can hold on. Sam Pearce. Now, Sam, when we were backstage, it sounded like I gave him a bit of a dig because I said, mate, if there was an award for most improved, it would go to you. But I remember I got most improved when I used to play soccer when I was a kid, and it was because I was so shit at the beginning of the year. But I had to explain to him, I don't think you ever shit, but he improved dramatically in over a year, and I 100% think that as soon as he walked out on stage, the first thought that came into my head was he's now solidified his position on that pro stage. He deserves to be there. He's not a guy making up numbers. He's not a guy there to to experience what it's like to be up against Rowley and that, he deserves to be on that stage because in another year he's an Olympian. And yeah, he's just, yeah, his shape, his symmetry, his flow, everything about him just says Olympian. Yeah, go,
12
Jim.
kilos or something. 12 kilos he put on this year.
In a year, man.
Of stage weight.
In a year, yeah. And I think that just goes down to his attitude and in the way he takes about everyday life. He just has a pro mentality, and everything that he does about himself is he's got such a professional attitude with it, with his training, with his businesses, with his clients, and the way he conducts himself on stage, backstage, and out even in the expo. He's just a good dude, and he deserves all the accolades in the world because he looked fucking unreal. What are your thoughts, Mr. Alpha Ethos Thomas?
Man, what can you say, man? He everything you said, hats off to him. That's incredible. I mean, structurally, I think now you can look at it and you can see the potential this guy's got. For a big guy, small waist, wide shoulders, it flows, man. And on top of that, he's professional. Fucking good poser too, man. Like his routine was polished. He belongs there, man. Exactly what you said. Like in every facet, not just the look, the way he walked around, the way he stood on stage. It was a pro performance.
Yeah.
And good. Absolutely. If you're listening, Sam, fucking well done, man.
I'm going to go to Gully, and then I'm going to go to Jimmy and see what he thought. Don't do the crazy eyes when I mention your name. Because every time he does it, I get fucking scared. I don't know how you're ever a teacher. Gully.
He definitely made a lot of improvements from last year. He's probably 1 or 2 years away, I think, from being right at that top level. The only thing, and there's a hard thing because, we're all pretty close with Sam. I just think that condition could have just been just that little bit tighter. When you compare it to, say, Steve, Bonac and Josh, I think he just needs that little bit more, and it'd be such an overall impressive look.
See, I didn't pick up on that. Where was he lacking in conditioning?
I think the back shots, and also on the legs. I think the back of the rear of the leg.
Is it a lack of conditioning or just a lack of mature muscle to be conditioned?
I think he's getting a lot of it. And this is the only knock. And I hope he doesn't get offended by that either, because we are mates.
I think he will get offended, and I think he'd prefer us to critique him rather than
100%.
Like 100,000 people have this weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I want to see with Sam? I want to see his fucking face like Kevin Levrone.
Well, that's the thing about it. It actually does look like that at the moment. Like his face was.
I haven't seen him in person. That's the thing.
Yeah,
So
that's my only knock. So that's the only thing I can pick up on. Whether or not other people saw that or not, I don't know. But that was only my observations on the day.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we'll just finish off on Justin, and we've already touched on Justin. Congratulations to him for holding his own on that pro stage, and he did hold his own for pose. Definitely didn't look like someone who was out of place, and definitely didn't look like someone who was there to make up numbers. Alpha Ethos, you want to make another? You've already spoken to him about him beforehand, but didn't know if you wanted to elaborate on anything else.
Yeah, man, look, exactly that. He beat 3 people, and he beat the other 3 comprehensively. I think that after Justin, I think that. I think he comprehensively beat them, and they fell away a little bit towards the end there. But how good was it to have Josh at 4, Orton at 6, Sam at 7, Justin at 8? Fuck yeah!
So he placed 8th, did he?
Look, I'm assuming. I'm assuming.
I think that's pretty. Yeah, I think that's a close enough call. I think yeah. Judging by the call outs, he was probably in 8th place. Yeah, definitely.
I reckon so.
Yeah.
Mate. Enjoy the rest that you're going to have now, Justin. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. No, I don't know what his plans are after this, but he deserves all the rest in the world now. I think he needs a breather. He definitely needs a breather because he's had he's gone back to back with the October shows, moving into the Arnolds, and then on top of that, he did have a rough prep, so it wasn't an easy run for him. So I think he's just going to have some time to unwind now and just absorb everything that's happened in the last few months. And good on him because he's a true professional. He conducted himself well. I want to make mention to also the athletes meeting. It was great to see so many people at the athletes meet and greet the night before the show, or the 2 nights before the show. And it was great to see the biggest lines there being for Sam and for Josh. And Josh's line was still probably close to 50 metres long, if not more, and that's not an exaggeration. When the athletes meeting was finishing up, and he stayed back until he saw every single last person. So, and same with Sam. To see the amount of people lining up for Sam, it was great. Yeah. One more client I'm going to make mention to before we end up was my wife. She did well. I have to make mention to Rach. Placing third in her first ever Arnold Classic show. So I'm chuffed. She's happy. And yeah, that topped off the weekend for myself.
I just wanted to put a donut in her barramundi and greens when she was sitting and watching the show the next day.
She's a pain in the
She's
arse.
next level, isn't she?
Yeah, no.
Ridiculous.
She's eating barramundi and greens now. Yeah. But she did have a 500 calorie protein shake after she trained. So she's back on the. She's back on the.
I'm going.
What?
I'm getting out of here.
Right, sit in your fucking car and suffer.
Fuck you. Goodbye, Chris.
We're wrapping up anyway.
Jimmy, I'm flying out tomorrow.
To the USA. It's USA.
Yeah.
USA.
I'll text you my US number when I get there.
Please do, Chris. I'm going to call you tomorrow. And Mark Gretsch, go fuck yourself.
I was waiting for that. He's been messaging me all afternoon trying to beg me to fucking have dinner on the weekend. So he can go fuck himself too. Let's wrap it up, yeah? Gally, you missed out on that meeting, the little interview thing yesterday too. That was great.
I did. Oh, well, there's not much I could do about that. I was working. But I'm glad you got to do that. That was pretty awesome. That's really good.
It was good.
I hope you could lock that in every year.
I hope I get the gig too, yeah. It was a last minute thing. It was a bit of a call.
I'll be putting your hand up for Olympia as well.
Oh, we'll see what happens. But if I ain't doing anything unless I got my right hand man right next to me, mate. Right by my side.
I'll just stand. I'll just be there.
No, mate. No one's having it unless you're there. That's 100%. But look, it was good catching up with you boys on the weekend. And Gally, you have a safe flight. And
thanks,
get up early, nice and early next week because we're getting Jake on.
Yeah, well, I think if we record at the same sort of time, I think it's 5 my time over there in the morning. So I will be waking up early because I don't want to miss seeing you boys and talking what we do. And happy days.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then I'll be working on a few good guests while I'm over there too. We'll get them on.
Yes, make sure you do. Anyone watching this, make sure you stay tuned because we will be uploading videos day by day for all our interviews. We've got a heap of backstage interviews, heaps. Like Gally mentioned at the beginning, we've got that much great content with Sergio, with Neil Hill gave us a wrap-up show. Chris Corbier. Fuck, you name it, we've got it. Yeah, we've got so many great interviews.
Sean Roden.
Sean Roden one's a good one, yeah. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel. Do what you need to do. Love yous all. I'm out of here. I'm going to go watch Married at First Sight now. Did you watch last night's episode, Gally?
I watched some YouTube reruns today.
It's juicy. Make sure you save it on your hard drive so you can watch them on the plane. I'll keep you feeding. Don't you worry about it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll catch you all next week. Ciao.